Today we're making a slightly unusual coleslaw with red cabbage, prunes, and pomegranate molasses. I came up with the salad during the early days of the pandemic, when food shopping was a luxury and I had to work with what I had on hand. Well, it's a keeper. Everyone loves the salad, even my 9-year-old. Have you noticed how many great dishes are born out of necessity? The amounts of all the ingredients are completely up to you, but I did weigh everything when making this recipe in case you like to measure. Cut your cabbage in half through the core and trim any blemishes. I'll only use half of a cabbage head for my salad. I find that to be plenty for 4 to 6 people as a very generous side dish. Let's make a few lengthwise cuts, keeping the cabbage attached at the root. And then slice it crosswise. You can certainly use a mandolin or a food processor for this. By the way, I am not shredding my cabbage too finely. I like it a bit coarser, but that's completely up to you. Here's what my pieces look like. At this point, it's more comfortable for me to continue slicing at an angle. Let's rotate the cabbage and approach the core from the other angle. I keep working my way around it until all I have left is the core. I discard it because I find it tough. In case you are a measuring tape, I ended up with 600 grams of cabbage. Let's chop up some prunes. I prefer to buy unsulfured prunes. I get mine at Trader Joe's because they are not treated with preservatives. They are very firm. But after mixing with the dressing, their texture will be just right. You don't need to make them tiny or particularly even. I stop when I get to the size of cherries. In go our prunes. Let's salt everything generously. I started with 7 grams of salt, but then ended up adding a bit more later. You'll see. About a teaspoon of granulated sugar, though you can use honey or any other sweetener, a generous amount of freshly squeezed lemon juice, and a splash of pomegranate molasses. If you don't have pomegranate molasses, replace it with balsamic vinegar and slightly increase your sweetener. Now we need to tenderize the cabbage. Get in there with your hands and squeeze. It's just like making a kale salad. I know you might be thinking that I forgot the oil. That's intentional. This salad tastes like a quick sauerkraut. I prefer to drizzle it with a little oil before serving, but not mix the oil in. This makes it more intense. Of course, what you do is completely up to you. Taste and correct for salt, sugar, and acidity. Mine needed more salt. Now we're talking. Getting the salt just right is so transformative. Given how few ingredients this salad has, it's insanely complex. It's so bright and festive with the crunchy cabbage and the chewy prunes, and the flavor is just through the roof. I know people are going to ask me, what if I don't like prunes? Well, use some other dry fruit. Try raisins, apricots, dried cherries, cranberries, whatever. You can also add some chopped toasted walnuts. This salad goes well with anything off the grill, and it's unbelievable on a pork taco. If you prefer to keep it vegetarian, try mixing it with a grain like bulgur or quinoa, and it's a meal. Here are more cooking tutorials for you to check out, and if you are ever in the Boston area, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes.